I will send you a video of him. And Marcin, you can tell them what you're doing.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Marcin. So I'm here. I'm here in the dark. Um, oh,
Oh,
here
there
we
you
go.
are. Nice
Yeah,
to see you.
we're working on the
Yay.
global. Yeah. Hello. Hello. So Tammy just introduced us to all of this work. So we just met Tammy very recently, and we're working on a global village construction set. So it's about open sourcing basically the blueprints for civilization. So here's the 50 most important machines that it takes for modern life to exist. Everything from tractors to brick presses, baking ovens, CNC machines, all kinds of productive equipment. So we're making that available in open source, and we're starting a training program for for people who are interested in a meaningful pursuit in their life. So yeah, we've been working on this for quite a bit of time and doing experiments and reinventing civilization. So that's what we do.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you're in
Yeah, right in Missouri. So
Missouri?
Maysville, Maysville. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Good
meet you.
work.
I love that.
Thank you.
And is Hunter, are you both doing the same thing together, or is this?
No, actually, I just so how I got here is I know Tammy because my wife is her niece, and so this just popped up as an
This
invite
meeting is
in
being
a group
recorded.
chat that I'm in with Angie. So I thought I'd hop on and see what it's about. I have no idea what Wyra is. I just wanted to see.
Okay, okay,
Yay.
wonderful. Well, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So
Angie or Maureen could get, or Tammy if she's driving safely, but someone could give an overview of Wyra if they wanted to address that, or we can jump in and talk about that later. Okay, we'll jump in and talk about that later.
yeah. Okay, and Martin, are you on the same property as Tammy and Pete, or you live in a different?
No, no, it's different.
It's different. Yeah.
Different place.
Okay.
There, I believe in. They're Jameson. We're Maysville. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Well, wonderful. So, well, I think, well, I can give a little bit of background on myself, and Lori can a little bit of background on herself as well. We live in Massachusetts at the moment, and so I think well, my background is I graduated in business, and I have an MBA. I am entrepreneurial. I started a architectural firm, and uh, and I currently coach business owners on helping them to kind of understand their purpose, and then use their business to make a difference in the lives of their clients in order to fulfill their purpose as part of their overall life purpose through their business. And so that's we've got three boys, and they're all out of the home at this point, and so we're just adjusting to life as empty nesters at this point, which is a big enough for us. That wasn't a happy thing. So. Or do you want to get
Yeah, I'll say so. The way I met Tammy and Pete, our anniversary trip a couple years ago, 2022, was to Missouri. And right before I went, I had talked to a woman named Becky who lives in Africa, and she said, "Oh, you have to meet Tammy Jensen." And so she introduced us. Before we knew it, we were fully entrenched in Ghana a few months later and learning about who I really am. And Tammy is just that kind of a person, just that magnetic connector. of people and concepts and such a vision. So as you know, Marcin, like you've experienced that with her. So it's so fun that she brings people together in magical ways, and then really amazing things happen. So our lives have been changed by being part of Who I Really Am. Our lives have been changed by being in Ghana. We have just, it's opened up our minds. And for a few years now, we've had promptings about someday creating a community of some sort. So we've been trying to find what that is, where that is, how that looks. I have a wellness background, so we have been to several wellness communities, including Serenbe in Georgia, and several others, just to experience what it feels like to be in a community that's designed for wellness. So I have a dental hygienist of 26 years, and more recently, 5 years ago, yoga instructor and natural health educator. So I've been teaching a program called a Wellness Toolkit Experience and launching that second round really soon here. So it's been fun. We've just been trying to build on our skill sets, one skill set at a time, to become who God wants us to be together. And we've done a lot of, as Jared said, since our boys have left, we've done a lot of reflection on where God needs us next, and how to use the skills that He's helped us to develop and build. So that's us.
When I started, so I ran a architectural firm, it was a residential architectural firm I was the president of that company for 12, 13, 14 years, depending on how you count it. But as I was doing that, I really started kind of gravitating towards why we were doing what we were doing and how that made a difference to people in their lives. And so the Jensens came to visit us at one point, and I was telling them a little bit of our story, and I was telling them about how we tried to design spaces in people's homes that supported their needs. And I told her about a client of ours that was seasonally depressed. And so one of the things that we did was open up the kitchen. They had a really beautiful view to the mountain, but they couldn't see it because of the wall. There was no visual connection. And so we opened up that space and made this beautiful, the light come into the space that she was in most often. And and afterwards she said that really made a big difference in her, feelings of, depression or mental health. That boosted her spirits and made her feel, lighter and connected to nature. And so that opened my eyes to, like, wow, what a difference our environment makes on our experience. And so I started thinking, how could we really use what it is that we build around us to support our physical and mental and emotional health. Well, when Lori was when COVID happened, everything shut down, and she had a few months that her dental office was closed. And so she went to get her yoga instructor certificate. And anyway, so I watched her she had been doing yoga for a really long time, but I watched her as she started practicing some doing yoga for other people and started eating healthier and thinking healthier, how that really affected her mental health and her experience. And so both of us have had mental health issues. I've had anxiety, and Lori has had bipolar. And so we are keen to, the effects that's happening. And we're seeing a lot of people who are experiencing increased anxiety and depression and loneliness around us in the world. So we just started thinking. I started thinking, well, I wonder if I could kind of take my background that was kind of more from I'm not an architect, but more from a design standpoint, and from kind of add some of the mindset and spiritual and mindfulness practices that Lori has done. How could we create a environment that helped support people and help them to be more well? So I'm kind of coming at the community idea from a, kind of how can we shape our experience in a lot of different ways, but in all the different aspects that we are as humans, and especially how can we be intentional about when we create a place, we do it with the idea that it has a specific impact on us when we're in that space. And as I was thinking, Tammy, about like what is, well, one of the things that Tammy said when she asked me to talk about this is to talk a little bit about being intentional about design choices and how that will impact people that are there. And so really the word that came to me was connection. And that's the thing that creates the whole experience. If you think about making a physical space, whether that is a community or a campus, a home, when you're making a physical space, it really is just made up of connections. And it is a mirror. A good space mirrors our human connections that we have. It's a reflection of true principles around our human needs and the connections that we have between ourselves as people. So physical spaces are, when you're creating a physical space, it really is a series of spaces that are connected to differing degrees. They're either highly connected or they're connected very narrowly, and they have a proximity and a size. So when you're designing a space, basically what you're doing is you're taking you're kind of suggesting values as to how big each space is, and how much it's connected to other spaces around it or not, and how what the series of those spaces looks like over time. So I know that sounds like kind of abstract, but it's really powerful. So I want to talk through this just a little bit. So one of the primary things to think about is the degree of public and private that each space is. How close we are connected, and how many connections that we have, and how kind of deep that connection is. So if you, as we were driving home the other day, we were driving on the freeway. Maybe Tammy's doing this thing right now. And I was thinking about how roads are one of the most publicly accessible places in the world, right? everyone can go on a road. They're meant for everyone to be on. They're open to everyone for the most part. And yet we are as disconnected in that space from the others who are on it as possible, really. We have almost no interaction with those people, which is an interesting dynamic. So we go from, usually when you create highly public open spaces, they're meant to be, to facilitate interaction with people. Well, if you think of the road, think of the road in front of your house. That is a highly public space. People go on it all the time, and they're in their cars, but we aren't connecting as people. And think about the series of connections that happen between the road and the most private, the most deeply connected spaces in your house. Think of the series of connections of spaces between the most highly public spaces and the most private, intimate spaces that you have in your house. It's a series of connections, and they facilitate transitions. So if you think about when you're designing a space in a place, it is you go from a very highly public space, the road, where you might be with a lot of other people, but your degree of connection with them is low. And then you step off. Why don't we build our front doors right where the road starts, right at the curb? Why don't we do that? Because we need a transition. We need a series of steps away from that very highly public place into an increasingly more private and intimate space. And why is that? Well, it's because we want to feel safe. So we don't open up unless we feel safe. And so creating a space has to do with the degree of connection, how open it is to everyone else, which is kind of, the more open it is, kind of the less deep we get in our degree of connection with other people. But the more safe and private, the more we feel like we can open up or maybe be introspective, right? So we want to feel safe, and we want to feel like we belong, and we want to feel like we have we have places for deep connection, and we have places where we can meet other people and experience new things. Those are both important. But when you're designing a place, it's thinking about those dynamics. And then what we're basically doing when you're designing a place is how big it is, and the centrality of where we put things, and how open the connections are between those things determines what we're suggesting our values are. So imagine this for a second. Imagine someone builds their house right at the edge of the road. Their front door it's just their front door, right? Right at the edge of the road. And then you step in to the most, their bedroom or the bathroom, right? And that takes up 80% of the house. What does that suggest? It suggests that you assume that the most important interaction with people as soon as they come in is that function, right? And you want that to be as connected as possible to as many people as possible. But that's not how we feel, right? That's not the reality of most of our experience. So the reason that we have a series of spaces, usually off the road, there is some green space and then a sidewalk that is a little less public, a little more private, but still very open, and it's slower and it's a little safer, right? And then off that sidewalk, there may be something to delineate a courtyard, right? And there may or may not be a fence, but there's something that suggests you're now stepping off the sidewalk into even more private spot. And if there is a sidewalk to your front door, that's a sign that you're welcoming people, that they belong, right? And if there is a porch that's covered, it's a sign that I have been anticipating you. I have a place for you. You belong here. And I have made provision for you to be safe and covered, even while you're waiting for me to come talk to you, right? So all of these things are a series of transitions, and that's important for us to like have that transition. We don't as humans, we don't want to go from, hey, I just met you, to here's everything about me, right? Yeah, we need to develop trust. We need to develop a series of experiences that make us feel safe, and that physically is represented in a space in order to. That's why we do that. Is to say, let's help you transition from this very public place to a place that is open and welcoming. And then when you step in, there's a kind of a semi-public place inside of the residence, right? Usually there's a foyer of some sort that allows someone to transition even further once they're in that space, and to feel like, okay, now we can decide if we want to go even further into the house, or we can stay there, or maybe I just keep you out on the porch, right, and talk to you there. So that is our physical, as we're designing physical places, it's really just a series of connections that represent our values and that are a reflection of our human needs and experiences and so forth. When you do that on a community or on a campus level, what you're doing is you're taking you're memorializing something like that, right? Because it doesn't change. So you're basically saying, here's what we feel about these human needs that we have. We either have lots of places for people to mingle and interact and be open. We have thoughtful transitions, or we have abrupt transitions, right? We think of people to have places to belong or to be in order to facilitate those transitions, or we don't. And that just says something. That reflects a value that the community is saying. You build it and it's there, right? And it kind of reflects something that either someone did or didn't think about it, but it just still says something, and it feels a certain way. How much are we making access to nature, to facilitate, learning, to growth and career and jobs and all of those things. So it really is just that series of connections. And I think that what's happened is one of the things that Lori and I went on a family history tour. My family is from the UK mostly, and we went there and we found a one of my ancestors was part of ran a mill right outside of Glasgow, yeah, right outside of Glasgow in the 1600s, or yeah, I think it was 1600s. Well, we ended up tracking down where this mill was, where it's now a home, and we got in touch with the person who lives there, and she said, "Come to Fluchter, just put Fluchter into your map." And we're like, "What is Fluchter? What is that?" And we didn't understand what it was. And it's the name of that house. That house has a name, and outside there's a plaque that said Fluchter, and it was because it was the Fluchter Mill at some point. A lot of the houses we saw had names, and one of the things about connection I was thinking about is that we don't. It's important for us to belong, and belong in a lot of different senses. To belong to, so she knew where she belonged in terms of the history of that place. She had context and understood where she fit in, that it was once a mill and the people who ran it, and then the history of how it, turned into a house. And that creates meaning for her. And we were talking about how in our experience, mostly when we come to a house, not only does it not have a name, but we never know anything about it. Everything's just wiped clean. So we don't really have any context of where we are. But that sense of connection to other people, to the history of places, and to what it means to live somewhere, or to be somewhere, or to be someone in the context of anything, helps us to feel a sense of belonging. And ultimately, we know that is a trait that God has put within us to seek to understand why we're here, where we belong, what we're here to do, and what our purpose is. But our environment can help us to feel like we understand that, so we're not feeling lost and disconnected from everything else around us. So that, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Did you have something to add?
Sure. I would love to show a picture of my favorite named home. So if you can see, maybe turn the light off. This home is called Well Cottage, and it's in the Cotswolds. So it's named Well Cottage. It has this well. It's the cutest cottage with the fence around it, the gate, a little porch with the mail slot that says post. And it's just, so to me, that's like, yeah, if someone says, I live in the Well Cottage in the Cotswolds, they don't need an address. It's right there on the side of the building. And it's so just amazing. And so to have spaces that feel like they have a purpose, that they're there on purpose with a purpose, that makes you just feel different than random house, random number, random street name. So we love noticing things like that.
One of the things that I liked about Serenbe is that there's a story. So I think that is also important to give meaning to a place. Boston has a story. Places that are, you can kind of feel like there's something that resonates with you. There's a story. So I wanted to share my screen. Yeah, but I'll do this for a second. This is some research that I've been doing about You are. Can you see? What can you see?
Pull this down.
Let me try again.
Mhm.
No.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is some research I've been doing about, what to be intentional about creating a community.
Just one quick second. Can someone tell us if you're seeing something that says table of contents?
Yes,
I can
table of
see it.
contents.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So this is, in creating a community, I'm just kind of starting here with like the need, We live in an age of diminishing sense of purpose. We're in a happiness slump. Um, uh, People feel less permanence, reliability, and stability. There's increasing mental illness. Trust is declining. So, how would you create a place that would counteract those things? Starting with some core values. What is it that the community stands for? What does community do? It kind of stands at the intersection of individualism and the greater good. And, ultimately, I think that the best communities capture the benefits of the city drive, and some of the benefits of having lots of, um, some resources at least with the rural kind of benefits of living in the countryside, including, food and access to nature and, connections with places and people. So creating, public assembly places, so forth. So then, what is a home? What are some aspects of a home? Here's some research about biophilia. There's research that shows that our physiology changes when we're in specific situations in nature, and it can reduce stress, reduce our blood pressure, heart rate. We can increase novel thinking, lots of different things from being in nature. Different neighborhoods and blue zones, places where people live to be centenarians, um, at a higher rate than in most places. Happiness research. This is kind of the thing that I wanted to dive into a little bit, is our human experience. Let me pull this up. So, this is kind of, I think, what's been settling in my heart a little bit, is just like all of these things are building up. Even though we have more stuff, we live longer, we're healthier, we have more conveniences. We are reporting that we're less happy than, at least as long as we've been recording that. The United States dropped from 15th to 24th this year in the rankings nationally, like beneath Costa Rica and some, I can't even remember, some other like country that you would think, well. So, we've got lots of things happening, eroding our sense of well-being and community. We have rising mental illness, declining trust, more loneliness, dismissing spirituality, disconnected from nature, people feeling like, they're entitled, and that they're focused on, really just a life of ease instead of, being able to deal with things that as they come to them. So this is really just talking about returning to core values. These are some pictures that we took while we were in Ghana, but I feel like the idea of resilience and joy, being able to embrace life's struggles as opportunities to deepen our joy and our growth, I think that's really embodied amazingly with people that we interacted with there in Ghana. It was striking for me to think of how their struggles developed their resilience and their trust in God and their pulling together. And like, that's like missing, right?
I have maybe my little quote would pop in right there, since these are some of the pictures. Go back to the one, this one. So when Tammy and I traveled to Ghana, we mostly spent time at the two schools called Golden Sunbeam Schools. One is in Ayukama, a small village, and one is in Isam, which is even a smaller village in the eastern region. And so this is the first one we went to. And this moment, I wrote this in my journal, and I think of connection, human connection that was happening. I said, as we were eating lunch, it started raining. I went out and got wet to cool off, and some of the kids gathered around me. I had just met them, but they were calling me Auntie, Auntie, and asking me questions. One word, just joyful. Oh, wait, one more word, light. I had to go and kneel in the bathroom and thank Heavenly Father for bringing me here to experience all of this. So just their ability to just love me when they first met me. Children are usually good at that, but this was especially good. And then another, you can go to the next, this one. Yeah, in this village, some of the kids had never seen white people, and so they were at first kind of scared of us, especially the younger ones, I think. And so I started playing a game of peekaboo with the little kids, and they acted scared when I first would like open my eyes and point at them. They would run away and hide and be scared, but I think we warmed up to each other, and soon they were like coming to me. And I found myself just surrounded by these children, and in my journal I said, when I opened I told them that they're special. I told them God loves you and God loves me, and they repeated it. My melting heart looked into their pure eyes and was just filled up to the top. So, I really love that these communities are nurturing children in a way that once they do realize, okay, I am safe, the adults around me that are in charge of me, seem like this woman is safe. And that once they felt safe, we had this like heart to heart, God loves you, God loves you. And they were saying, God loves me and God loves you. And we made a little game of it. And, I think that was just really those were some special moments for me, because the connection was so quick and so deep. There wasn't superficial anything. It was just like they looked in my eyes and called me Auntie. I looked in their eyes and told them God loved them. And I think if communities nurture opportunities for those moments to happen, people connect in beautiful ways. And so I really had, just special memories of how that felt to connect so deeply and so quickly with the people there. And the adults too. There were plenty of moments where, for example, Victor, who, I don't know if you included any of his pictures, but we were explaining our situation to Victor, that we had been through some unemployment and some difficult years where we did not have funds coming in. And I remember telling him that we were now finally in a position to share blessings were flowing and that we're now in a position to share. And Victor had listened deeply and he said, I see you two as a channel, not a container. So a channel for blessings to flow through. And I just, I love that there are just deep, meaningful conversations that can happen when people connect in safe spaces. And that's community to me, is rich connection, deep connection, people seeing and hearing each other deeply. And so the spaces Jared's talking about, the transitions to closer and closer and more private spaces, all spaces can be special, but I think in a community, the feeling that you want is that even the outdoor public spaces are okay to have those special, deep conversations and connections. That it's the whole community is a safe place to connect deeply with people.
Yeah, that's when it enters the hearts of the people. So this is just talking about the vision, designing communities for connection. So just being mindful of how that space embodies the shared values of the community. So there, it can be done in different ways. The design suggests prominence of certain values and kind of memorializes those things. So these are the community pillars. Kind of the emotional. This is personal and community life. Social and cultural. This would be things like marriage, family, friends, and community. Spiritual, of course, faith. Physical. This would be health, food, exercise, and rest. Work and enjoyment. This would be career, the local economy, arts, creativity, and interests. Mental. This would be intellectual and educational. And environmental, this would be nature, the built environment, your home, etc.
And I'll say in the Who I Really Am principles, there's a principle called MEBA, which is maintain balance in all areas of life. And they talk about spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, financial, social, and family. So, one of the things Tammy first talked to us when we met her were these basically 7 areas that she'd been focusing on through Who I Really Am.
I mean, if you wanted to really emphasize that as a central theme in a space, you could do that in lots of ways. Mm-hmm. It could be, it could be represented very concretely or kind of more abstractly, but there could be like transitions, from each island, so to speak, or there could be 7 rooms that lead one through the other, or there could be outdoor spaces that represent that and lead someone on a journey. But there are design elements that evoke curiosity and make you want to move into a space. If a space is you have a partial view to it and it curves to the right and there's light at the end of it, not just to the right, but if you has a partial view, it draws you in. You want to kind of explore. And especially if it feels safe with the it's to human scale and not over kind of making you feel small. So there's lots of things that you could do that would represent an invitation to go on a journey, or you could have obviously you could have. I mean, we have there's a trail that we went on that had a little story along it as you went, and so that was really fun. There's just different ways that you could kind of be intentional about, supporting people, giving people places to learn and go, explore. Here are the human needs: safety, stability, and belonging, opportunities to work, cooperate, and play, spaces to honor and worship the sacred, quiet places for repose and tranquility, inspiration and personal renewal, enjoyment of nature and sunlight, nourishing food and daily exercise, emotional, physical, and spiritual comfort, and enlivening social spaces to deepen relationships and a role in something larger than yourself. And just some things about what a great community might look like. So yeah, I think that's it. Maybe we can open it up to questions.
Would the first need therefore be you're looking at safety as I would say that, like, if I think about it, it's like, I actually ended up, when I came to America from Poland, I ended up in the heart of the ghetto of Newark, New Jersey. It wasn't the streets paved with gold in 1982.
Yeah.
So I think safety is a definite big deal for a lot of places. Would you say that's the number one thing? Start with that?
That is a really foundational thing because, if we don't feel like we belong or like we are safe physically or like we will be able to be open without being, mocked or ridiculed or whatever, like emotionally. So there's like some different levels of safety, but yeah, I think that that's really foundational. If we don't feel safe, it's hard to, um, you would never go outdoors if your front door was right at the edge of the road because it doesn't feel safe. So there's lots of different elements of that. It's a good point.
So I would actually continue and say,
You're muted.
I would continue to say that the element for that therefore I would identify as key is material abundance, i.e., like no robbery, no theft. I mean, at that level, just basic materials. That's got to be there first, because a lot of places don't have that. So we gotta solve that first. There's a lot of places that don't, simply plain don't, and you don't feel safe there. You're never gonna be safe there because it's basic needs.
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting thing. Like when we went to Costa Rica, there was a lot of bars on windows and
Everything was.
And so I think that at some level, yeah, that people are able to at least provide for themselves. And yet, if you look at really wealthy countries, it's not, at some level, additional wealth doesn't return additional benefits for happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you kind of get to the point where people have enough and maybe a little to spare, right? But then beyond that, I think one of the things that's really dragging the maybe all of the depression and anxiety and the loneliness is comparison. And because you go to if everyone feels like you go to Ghana and everyone's kind of repressed, right, and kind of equally oppressed, kind of equally oppressed, roughly, and so there's,
Well, we learned there that if someone were to steal in a community, the community members would take care of it themselves by killing
justice into their own,
possibly
into their own hands. So that's kind of like it's safe in that regard.
That's how they keep each other safe, is knowing that if someone were to steal from my business, my neighbors would find that person and help me kill them. So that's how they keep each other honest and safe, I guess, is by
well,
it's extreme, but they said
they would definitely have repercussions that would keep them from, doing that. Because everyone knows that's like a matter of
livelihood.
Yeah, like survival.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there is a certain level of abundance that is required, and yet it's clearly not. I mean, we're the most, our GDP is as high as any country's ever been, and yet um, we're shrinking. We're sliding in our experience of happiness, and so I think it's not just how much we have when we start getting focused on what we don't have, or that this is what other people have and we don't have. The idea of comparison is really a theft of joy, and it's everywhere. And when we're focused on who, our real purpose, who we actually are, and what you can see these outliers where there are places that are really oppressed, and yet they find joy in that circumstance. And so, I mean, I feel like being able to be solidly connected to to have your place, to feel like you belong and that you are connected to like to God, but to be even like more accessible maybe to people who don't know that yet, to be able to be connected to be in awe in something, to be connected to and be in awe in something greater than yourself is a really important thing that I think is missing in a lot of people's lives. And I think that can be fostered in maybe even small ways, starting in even small ways to help people see that even reconnecting to nature, how nature is part of something bigger than you. And of course, that is created by our creator, but
and we saw it in the schools. Both Golden Sunbeam schools really nurture the students to feel like they are a Golden Sunbeam. They really belong in that school. And I think they have songs that they, the theme song and different things that those students feel like that is their place.
One other thing that comes to mind is when we went for how many years? 3 years, really, without being employed. I mean, so we went for a long time, and we were barely getting by. I mean, we weren't
with a lot of help.
Yeah. So, and when we got basically kind of back on our feet, we asked our boys, what was that like for you? And they were like, same for me. I didn't really notice much of a difference, and I was really surprised a lot. But what meant that what was important to them wasn't the things that we were they had enough. They were able to, I mean,
at each other. So we had deep connections within our family and with God. And I think they just felt safe and secure in that and learned that they could be happy without the same clothes that other kids were wearing, or being able to go to the movies, or they
or
just
even so they didn't bother them that they were getting teased about their
old shoes.
The shoes, yeah. So that was kind of eye-opening. So not to say that material things are irrelevant, because we definitely need to be able to have that, but over focusing and comparing turns that it robs our joy, and it robs us of our purpose, and we kind of lose sight of what matters.
And that is a cute baby hunter. Oh my goodness. So cute.
I know.
Tell us about this little person.
Sorry, I don't want to steal the spotlight, but
Well, too late.
Too late. Adorable.
5 months old. and she just woke up.
Hey, girl. What's her name?
Emery.
Emery. So sweet. Is she your first?
Yeah, she's our first.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
So cute.
What a beautiful journey you're on.
Yeah, you're at the other end of your so fun. So tell us, Hunter, what thoughts have you had? Any thoughts, questions, perspectives?
So intentional design is something that I've actually been thinking about a lot lately, and I actually read a book on feng shui, just barely.
Nice.
So I have been looking into this, and it's interesting that the subjects that we talked about, I can see them even applying to like how we intentionally build for Emery even, because it's like,
Yeah.
of course, like survival is like the number one thing, but then
Right.
you also want to make an environment where, as kind of applying the same principles to communication, where it's like you want to make an environment where she's safe and it's inviting, and
Yeah.
there's times when you can be open and
Yeah.
like openness is easy, or there's times when like like intimacy through communication is also really important. And so I don't know, with me and my wife like wanting to move soon as well, it's like this is all at the forefront for what I'm interested in and the type of stuff that I'm looking for.
Well, that's beautiful. So, like, I think good design is mirrors good human interaction. So that's the way I would see it, is that um, it would go that way. So, like, the communication, you would reflect that to facilitate good communication in a design. So, like, communities are a balance of um, expression of individualism and shared values, right? And it's an interesting tension. It's the same thing in a family. You have each individual that needs to be their own, but then you have to have some glue that you all share. And so and it's okay that everyone's not exactly the same, but there needs to be something that is binding everything and unifying everyone together. That's what a good community would look like. It would have elements that bind everyone together, that they can all rally behind, and that they understand that they stand for something, right? Or that they work on together, and yet there is space for people to bring differences and to shine as an individual as well. It's an interesting thing that happens in families and in neighborhoods and communities, and but trying to reflect that and give space for that, I guess, is an interesting thing to also consider.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for sharing. And I know that school campuses, like Jared had mentioned before, the way it's set up memorializes what matters to the school. So if it's whatever they focus on, whatever they put their money in and make artistic and beautiful, you're like, oh, that's the showpiece. That's what they care about. All the others are like ugly dorms, ugly this, lame that, run down this. But the education building or the whatever building, each campus may have a different focus. I just think because I've been thinking about campuses, I guess since we talked to Tammy, I'm just thinking, who wouldn't want to go to a place where the values were infused throughout the whole campus? You could feel like all of these spaces were created so that I can feel safe and learn and connect with my peers and connect with my professors, and also have safe spaces to retreat that are beautiful. It's not a cinder block dorm that barely has room for me to sit in. It's a place that's just for me to spend reflecting and integrating things I'm learning. all of those are really, really important, and in different places. Like I think about the campus in Ghana, in Ayukama especially, now that they have the dorms. You know, they're doing that in their own way with their resources, and they have plans to grow, and they have a vision for you know, focusing on agriculture. And so their next phases will be more and more, I think, about what they really want to focus on and what they really uh, do. And then the training center for who I really am. So it's interesting. It's like a little community. Campuses are a little community too.
Yeah. So I was talking to our son, Benson, who's serving a mission in Denmark, and he was at his apartment, and we were just talking about, you know, like the human need to have places to retreat and to be alone. Like there's something about having shelter behind you and above you where you can see out. And you know, when you go to the restaurant, you want the booth on the side. You don't want to be in the middle. Like, and when you're on your, you know, outside, I was sitting on my porch where I've got, you know, I'm all covered on all the sides except for this, and it feels safe because this is a place where I'm protected from all the places that I'm vulnerable behind me. It's physically, it makes me feel like I'm being taken care of, and I'm, you know, so having places like that, where you can retreat, but then also having places where you will be able to interact with other people. And Serenbe, well, one other thing, Elder Bullock Benson was saying, so those, you know, those transitions are growth. You know, when we go from one you know, thing to the next, those transitions are growth. And so like designing places to help us make a transition, and think about moving from one place to the other and growing and having a journey and all of these different things. But he also said something about, you know, it is important to have places where we can connect and see different ideas to open our minds. So we have lots of superficial, and then places for us to be one-on-one and have deep kind of safe, intimate
communication, like Hunter was saying, communication that won't be interrupted or heard by others.
Yeah. One other thing is that I had one other idea. Oh, Serenbe it was originally designed, the first hamlet in Serenbe was designed to have all of the homes. There's one road that kind of goes in nature. There is it's a series of transitions. So as you come into the hamlet, it's a farm basically. It's just an open field. And then it gets increasingly like populated and more dense. So the first houses are big and set off the road that you can't really see them. And then the next houses are a little smaller and closer to the road until you get into the middle where there's dense, you know, multifamily housing. And then there's a commercial space in the middle. And all of the houses, if you walk out the front door, it's into the public space. If you walk out the back door, it's into nature. And so just those ideas of transition, of connection to public and to private, is just an example of how you could like represent that.
Bye, Hunter. Thanks for Hunter. Coming. Bye, Emery. So sweet. Tammy, Angie. Oh yeah, take care. Tammy, Angie, or the other Who I Really Am. Do you have any thoughts or questions?
No, I don't. The other Who I Really Am is me too, only at another location. So I've had awesome time listening. It's been great, you guys.
Oh, good. Yay. Yeah.
So I just wanted to share one quick thing, and it's actually about Marcin. So earlier today, Maureen and Elisha Jones and Alicia Decker, we all went over to his house, and it was with the expectation. You heard about what he does.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's just incredible. And I guess I kind of expected, you know, there's a lot of utility in his goals. And
Yeah.
oftentimes people that are interested in utility, they leave out the design elements. But that wasn't the case. And I think you guys would love going to his home. So we drive up, and this sort of European looking, I don't know, Marcin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a very tall home with white trim around the windows, wooded deck. I would call it decking. It wasn't a deck. It was like levels of this beautiful wood. It's nestled amongst all the trees. Everything's manicured. It was so lovely. And then we went in. I'll send you pictures. But I just was amazed at how, even though he's so his brain is so programmed for utility and for cost effective building, which is so, you can imagine, for Ghana and for Nigeria and for Kenya, like how important that's going to be. And even though he did not, and I think it's Katerina as well, his wife. She's a very, oh, she's just lovely, just this lovely woman, and I just think that touch of design. Anyway, I think you would love it.
That was from her. She's the design stuff. I do the interior trim with a chainsaw, though I stopped that recently. Yeah. But definitely,
It's very obvious.
So running into Belam community here, I'm thinking much more. Okay, let's. I don't think that like doing all the trim and interior in actually executing on all the finishing work. I appreciated the beauty much more. But even, I mean, the design, like the way the house for sale at 1005 Sycamore. Send him a picture, Tammy. But it looks, some of that aerial photography, it's got curves, and I was involved in those curves. I actually designed the curves. the stonework. I actually did that. So I totally appreciate the beauty. Like I got a total appreciation for how I call it actually structural governance, i.e. the environment tells you exactly what to do and how informs you how to behave. It enforces all those things. So you got to be very intentional about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's genius loci is what the
Greeks called it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is,
the spirit of the place is what you gotta honor the spirit of that place.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were trying to.
The new insight is that, so this is like rich people's territory. They manicure and make their stuff extremely beautiful, and part of it is it's true. There's a lot of effort and cost that goes into it. So let's democratize that. That's our thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to see pictures, and if we're in the neighborhood, that would be really fun to come see what you're doing and see your place. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, we're just getting started, so yeah.
That's exciting. Looks like you're really excited. I love it.
Yeah.
Hi, Pete, Mr. Jensen. Maybe not.
He accidentally joined. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's being safe.
He's traveling through mountains on his way to Boise.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
He's probably saying, I'm traveling through mountains.
Yeah. I think we did that once when we were in Colorado.
I bet that's where he's at.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thanks
well,
for having
thank you so much. It's just beautiful to listen. All the detail. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, I gotta run myself.
Okay,
So
awesome.
take care.
Well,
Okay.
thank you. Be safe, Tammy. Have fun. Send pictures from your trip.
Okay, we will.
Okay,
Yeah, you
bye.
have
Bye.
fun too. Yep.
Thanks.
See you,
Bye.
Marcin.
Bye bye.